Test, test. Captions test for the YouTube stream. Test, test. Captions check for the YouTube stream. Test, test. Test, 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 test. Caption test on the YouTube stream. Oh no, I don't want to put that there. Test, test. Test, 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 test. Does not seem like it's working. That's not good. Captions test for the YouTube stream. Test, test. Test, test. Captions test for the YouTube stream. Caption source. Output to oh, we can actually open captions. That's cool. That's not working. All right. Close that out. Doesn't seem to be working. CPU up 8%. View duration 36 seconds. Concurrent numbers 1. Test, test, test again. Test, test. Nothing.
Yes. Good morning and welcome to the 40th session. This is a special meeting of the Hawaii County Council. The date today is May 21st, 2026, and we are meeting at our Hilo Chambers, 25 Alpuni Street. To begin today's meeting, I'd like to call on Pastor John Endres of Engage Church Hilo to provide our invocation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, my name is John Endres. I'm a resident here of 40 years, graduate YKA UH Hilo, serving as a pastor at Engage Church. I noticed on your agenda today that you guys are going to be dealing with budgets. Yay. And we deal with that also. But I saw that specifically some of it is going to be dealing with infrastructure. And it made me think about just something that I'm preaching on actually starting this Sunday. Shameless plug in front of all the politicians here. But Nehemiah in chapter 1, verses 3 and 4 was dealing with infrastructure issues in Jerusalem. And he got a report, and they said to me, the remnant there in the province who had survived the exiles in great trouble and shame, the wall of Jerusalem is broken down, and its gates are destroyed by fire. And as soon as I heard these words, I sat down and wept and mourned for days, and I continued fasting and praying before the Lord, the God of heaven. And I'm really thankful for a lot of the improvements on our roads recently, but I know that there is so much, and growing up in here, it's not something we want to be in shame of our infrastructure as we look at Coconut Island and other places like that. And so I know you have a big task, and I know balancing budgets, mine is not quite the same size as yours, but it is not easy. And I want to pray for wisdom for you guys and for our county as we head into this session, if you'll join me in prayer. Father God, thank you so much for the people you've gathered here, the wisdom you've brought together. And I pray that you would work through all these decisions that need to be made, testimonies that are shared, bills that are going to be debated. And God, I pray that your spirit would be present and direct, that it would bring just prosperity on our county life. And I pray that you would work through this session, give wisdom and understanding, and bring unity even when there are difficult decisions to be made. So would you guide these proceedings and bring about something that is going to perpetuate the righteousness and the life and the goodness and the welfare of the people here in our beautiful island. I pray this in your name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Mahalo, Pastor. With that, it is 9:05. I'm calling this meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Galimba.
Here.
Councilmember Eustace.
Present.
Councilmember Kagiwara.
Here.
Councilmember Connolly Kleinfelder.
Here.
Councilmember Kirkowitz.
Present.
Councilmember Campbell. Vice Chair Onishi.
Present.
Councilmember Villegas.
Ew.
Chair Inaba.
Ill.
Chair, you have 8 members present. You have quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. For the record, Councilmember Kimball is excused on county travel today. With that, if you would please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you feel comfortable doing so. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We will roll right into statements from the public on agenda items.
Thank you so much, Chair. I'd just like to note that we do not have any testifiers at your remote sites. We do have a testifier here in the Hilo chamber, Miss Candy Mapuaka Hilani Rydell Makuakani, testifying on Bill 135. Candy, if you'd like to testify at this time, you can go to that testifier mic at the front table. When you're ready, you can turn it on by hitting the green button at the base of the mic, introducing yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Aloha kakahiaka. My testify today is for the Pahoa district. Okay. Right now, with the bus system that's going on, it's very, very hard having it every 2 hours for the working class people that going to work, okay, and also for the school, the kids. Not all the kids go to Pahoa. Some of them go to Ke'au, okay? And this every 2 hours is not working at all. Okay, we do not have enough buses also in HPP. There's a lot of handicapped people out there, because I'm one, okay? And they need help out there. They need more buses out there, okay? Puna is growing immensely, okay? And I'm seeing it. And it's going to get even worse. So we need your help, please, that you put it back to every hour right now, because the students aren't able to catch the bus to make it to the class, and people are not getting to their other bus to transfer to get to work, okay? And they're very upset right now. All of them are very, excuse the language, pissed off, okay? So I'm here to speak for them, okay, because they're my people. My family has been in Pahoa, or Opikau, Kalapana Opikau, for a very long time, over 200 years. My grandpa built a church in Opikau. It still remains there on Red Road and Opikau, okay? And my grandfather was a pastor. So, please, 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 I cannot beg you enough to make this where we have our buses back every hour. Other thing too, if this will help you, the people already agreed that they will pay. A long time ago, I remember they having a book script, yeah? The locals are willing to purchase the books, okay, the working people. I'm also asking that you help the kupunas and the ADA people. Shucks.
30 seconds, please.
Okay, so I'm asking you to help the kupunas and the ADA people get passes to come on the bus for free. Okay, and the students, the kids. Pretty please. Okay? Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Chair, your next testifier is via Zoom, Dwight Vicente. Dwight, if you'd like to testify at this time, you can unmute by hitting *6 on your phone, introducing yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Dwight Vicente, representing the Hawaiian Kingdom. On the taxation, because of the state Supreme Court ruling, State versus Jim, the court ruled already back in 2004, the state and the counties are limited to the ceded land only. But what you're doing here is taxing the leased lands, which is was never amended into the 1898 Joint Resolution, and it's not even amended to the 1875 Reciprocity Proclamation and to the 1959 State Constitution. There's no amendment for the state and county to go beyond that. You cannot use the Land Use Commission, state, Planning Commission, county, and claim you have the authority to tax these lands, which is never part of the 1898 Joint Resolution. And that's what State versus Jim do. But what needs to be done to stop the taxation is to go into the circuit court and get them to enforce the State versus Jim rule that only the ceded land. So all this taxation going on today and so-called private ownership of lands that was only leased out, now being taxed on, has to come to an end. Should have ended like back in 2004 or back in 1898. So with that, I'll reserve the rights of this kingdom under the Queen's protest of January 17, 1893, against nefarious U.S. Minister Stevens, as he had to go to the U.S. Supreme Court, Article 3, Section 2, Clause 2, original jurisdiction. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. And with that, Chair, those are all the testifiers you have at the beginning of your meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Araceli. Mr. Clerk, Resolution 574, please.
Resolution 574-26 determines real property tax rates for the County of Hawaii for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2027. Proposes the following tax rate changes per $1,000 of net valuation for buildings and land. Lowers the rate from $5.95 to $5.75 in the affordable rental housing classification and the homeowner classification. Increases the rate from $13.60 to $14.50 in the residential Tier 2 classification, and sets the rates for the residential Tier 3 classification at $17 and the long-term rental classification at $7.75. Introduced by Councilmember Inaba. There was a public hearing held pursuant to Section 19-90 of the Hawaii County Code on May 19, 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. With that, I'm going to be turning the chairmanship over to Vice Chair Onishi at this time, since this resolution is a resolution I'm introducing.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, can you make the note? Okay, go ahead.
Motion
Okay, can I have
to
a motion?
approve resolution 574-26.
Motion by Chair Inaba, second by Ms. Villegas. Go ahead, State Chair Inaba.
Thank you. This resolution, as was summarized by our clerk, seeks to reduce our affordable rental and homeowner tax classes by 20 cents in comparison to the current rates. So that's from $5.95 to $5.75. This is a 3.3% reduction. So this specific amount was intentional in that it undoes a potential 3% assessment increase, which the homeowner tax class as well as the affordable rental class protects with that 3% assessment cap as part of that program. So essentially, if this rate is approved, properties in the affordable rental and homeowner tax classes would see a very slight reduction in comparison to the previous year's tax bill. In addition, some legislation introduced this year by council members resulted in the creation of 2 new tax classes, the residential Tier 3 as well as the long-term rental classes. So for both of those, new rates needed to be, or first-time rates needed to be established. So for the residential Tier 3, I put it in at 17, and for the long-term rental at 775. Overall, in comparison to the assumed rates that the mayor's team used to create our operating budget, the proposed rates in this resolution result in approximately $17 million more revenue for the county. And this is also an intentional number in the sense that we do have obligations coming down the pipeline, not this fiscal year, but in the following fiscal year. So it's allowing us to be prepared ahead of time. Myself, I don't have any plans to program any of this excess 17 million, knowing that we will need it in the next fiscal year after 26-27. I do want to point out that Mayor Alameda submitted communication number 905.1 yesterday in favor of the proposed rates in this resolution before us, and do want to give the opportunity to our finance director to give us an overview briefly on the need for some savings in the next fiscal year.
Good morning, members of council. Diane Nakagawa, Finance Department. Thank you for allowing me just a few moments to talk about our future fiscal years and potential deficit that we are facing in those years. When it comes to the details of the changes to operating budget, I will do a summary when we get to that item, particularly when we're looking at balancing fiscal year 28 and 29. In the budget, you will see a significant add of fund balance in order to balance. Now that is just a placeholder there until we get into those discussions. Where we're looking at today with a 0% projected revenue, basically flat in real property tax, and an increase in debt service, if we were to add kind of our normal fund balance carryover in those years, we're looking at 15.3 million in 28 and getting closer to 44 in 29 as a deficit. Those numbers are used from fund balance in the budget, but that is, for many reasons, not a wise option. That would pretty much wipe out our fund balance. Now, we will continue to add to our fund balance each year with lapsed funds, but not at a rate to cover the significant increases in debt service. That is what we know today. Many things could change, but as we see it, those are our projections for the budget right now.
Thank you, Director. With that, what's before you, I believe, is a balanced approach with the new Tier 3 and long-term rental classes. We placed the long-term rental essentially towards the middle of between affordable rental homeowner class as well as the residential Tier 1. And then there were also increases to the Tier 2 and Tier 3 rates as well. So I think it brings a balanced approach, taking care of our homeowners here in Hawaii, people who call a property home. They're able to see an offset of the potential 3% increase they might have seen if their assessed value did go up 3% from last year to this year. So happy to take any questions. I'm hoping that we can agree past these rates today so that we can move cleanly into our budget discussion and that the public be aware and have time to understand how these tax rates will play out for their properties. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Okay, members, Ms. Kagiwara.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you, Councilmember Chair Inaba, for putting this forward. If you would indulge me just a little here, I want to just quickly summarize kind of how we as a body got here. So this has been an issue that I've been concerned with and working on actually since I got into office, and even before that when I was door knocking and talking to people in the district about their concerns. I've been working over 3 years on this progressive tax proposal that really supports local families and disincentivizes non-resident investments in our housing stock for monetary gain. I did many meetings with real property tax administrator and lots of meetings with my constituents. In 2024, I worked with Councilmember Galimba to introduce and pass Bill 104, the long-term rental bill. That was very strategic, working towards this end to make sure that we weren't hurting any of our residents who were in long-term rentals. We didn't want to raise rates for them, so we pulled them out of these residential tiers that they were in before. And maybe, I don't know if Councilmember Galimba wants to say a little bit more about how we worked on that. In 2025, just last year, I actually worked with Appleseed, which is a Hawaiʻi Appleseed, which is a state organization that really looks at our residents and affordability issues and around housing. And they did a report for me, and at the time, they really kind of supported a similar plan to what Councilmember Inaba has put forward here, with some pretty significant differences that I'll go into. And at the time, this was last year, I was prepared to introduce something similar, but I met with the mayor, and at the time he was not supportive, and I also reached out to Councilmember Inaba, and he was not ready yet then either. So one of the things the report did say was that we could develop this Tier 3 in our residential property rates, and that would be helpful in looking at appropriate taxation. And so earlier this year, Councilmember Hustis and I worked on Bill 128, which did just that, which was passed the residential Tier 3 class for non-resident occupied properties over $4 million. So like I said, I've been working on this for quite a while. And so I do want to really appreciate both Chair Inaba and Mayor Alameda for now coming around and being supportive of this strategy. I think it's really important for our community. And I think it would be a mistake not to use our real property taxation authority to incentivize the behaviors we want to see and disincentivize those that we don't. I did introduce a resolution that has some significant differences that was not put on this agenda. And so because there are significant differences, including major revenue differences, I would love to hear from my colleagues here, but I would also like to motion to postpone. I don't see any reason to rush into this. We're not under the gun to get this passed right away. And because the differences are significant, specifically, my proposal brings in $30 million, whereas this one only brings in 17. And when we hear our finance director talk about the kind of things that we're facing in the next several years, I think this is really important. Similar to Councilmember Inaba, I do not have any plans to program this money, so I don't think it's in that way, I don't think it's urgent that we pass it today, because if we're not programming it, we don't need that extra time to move forward. So, yeah, so I'm happy to talk a little bit more about what I'm thinking, but I would actually love to postpone this so we can have a full conversation with my resolution in front of us as well. I also, the other thing I just want to say is that I think for the public it's a bit confusing because they got a public notice published in the newspaper that was a mashup of the mayor's proposal, Councilmember Inaba's proposal, and my proposal, but they did not see this specific resolution in the paper. So it's a little bit confusing for the public, I think, to understand what we're talking about today versus what we could be talking about if we were looking at the full picture going forward. So I'll leave it there for right now, and I'd love to hear what my colleagues have to say on this as well.
Thank you.
I yield.
Mr. Limba.
Thank you. So I want to thank Council Member Kagiwara for her vision, and I know it's been difficult to be patient with the long time frames required to set these new tax classes in place. And I think they've been, well, there was some question about the efficacy of the long-term rental class, and I think there's been, if I was reading the data correctly, there have been 800 applications already without even knowing what the tax rate will be. So I think we'll probably have more applications and more use of this program in the years to come as the word gets out. I think that testimony that we've heard really highlights that this can be a very effective way to start incentivizing long-term rentals. And despite the fact that short-term rentals are very attractive, I think there's a number of people who want to help solve our housing issues, and this rental class, this long-term rental class is really helping people to make that decision. So thank you for that, and thank you to Councilmember Hustis and Hagiwara for the Tier 3 as well. I think that was also a very useful thing for us to get some help from the folks that are not really going to notice these minor increases on their very large wealth. And given this, I think it would be, I support postponing until we can look at both proposals together. And I yield.
Okay, thank you. Other members? Mr. Carnegie Klangfelder?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair Nava, for bringing in a resolution to propose new tax rates for the county. Ms. Nakagawa, can you come up to the front, please? I believe this is my 7th time doing a budget. It's been fun. I just got in my folder the tabular summary of our debt. So as we discuss real property tax rates, we are looking into the future to discuss what the rates need to be to make sure that our budget is balanced and we're able to do the projects we want, but also meet the needs of the future. And this really is the time for all of us to discuss this at length. We know there's going to be heavy debt servicing and bonding coming up for the county in the next 5 years. You and I have discussed different things to meet those needs. Does the proposal that we have in front of us, the resolution that Mr. Inaba brought to the table, meet the needs of what you see projected for our debt servicing in the future? I was surprised to see reductions at all, if not just the status quo. It's always nice to say we lowered taxes. I love that. But in seeing the full picture and in having the discussions we've had at this dais over the past 2 months about budget, what's coming, what the public is wanting to see, what's our current level of debt servicing, and is this real property tax schedule with the slight decreases to homeowners and affordable rental class meeting the needs of us now and in the future? And as well, I think it was 2 days ago that we projected next year's RPT values to be flat. So looking for your input as kind of our guiding light as far as we look at the budget and your long-term view on what we're seeing coming down the pipeline.
Sure, happy to go through that. If we start with debt service, as we've talked about in our budget discussions, due to our primarily our wastewater obligations, our debt service will continue to increase over the next 10 years. As we look at our revenue, as we project at least out a couple of years, we're looking at a potentially flat revenue in real property tax. If we're looking at, fiscal year 28, which is, the first, what I talked about earlier in that first deficit of 15 million, then it does cover that. I just want to caution us on our ability is what we know today. So going further and further out, there's things that we do know, and there's things that are potentially will change that are really just not known for us at this time. What we see in the debt service, yes, is a continual increase. There are other things, as we've talked about, that we're looking at to potentially maybe change some of the schedules to allow a little more breathing room in these future increases in debt services over a longer period of time, not to continue to do these projects, but in a time frame that allows the county to have that room and ability to pay down some of the debt prior to doing another issuance. So there's things that we are working on to try to minimize or reduce that burden as much as possible. The numbers we have in front of us is what we know today. Yes, the debt service will continue to go up. We will need to track our revenues carefully, and we are potentially looking at flat. So a couple years ahead, we have a little more confidence. As we move further along, we will have to continue to evaluate those. But that is kind of the picture of what we're looking at today as it pertains to debt service and revenue and our ability to balance our budget.
What is our current debt level percentage?
We are at, hold on. So in your revised CIP, you will see our current percentage is 8.84% of general fund expenditures.
And does that include what was submitted to me in the past 4 or 5 days?
This, the 8.84 is what was included in our May 5th submittal.
Yeah. Does that include any of the wastewater treatment facility projects coming up?
Yeah, it does include wastewater.
How many of them?
All of the projects that are in the CIP. So if you're asking what this percentage is going to look like over time, we have done that with all of our wastewater projects. Because as you are concerned, we are also concerned in getting to that 15% kind of threshold. In our analysis today, going through all of our wastewater projects, we do remain just under that 15% going out 10 years. Again, what we know today.
And that's with current.
That is with all of our mandated wastewater projects and looking at about 50 million in CIP, which is our normal county spend.
Okay. That's current property tax rates and current revenues projected out 10 years with average rates of growth in what we estimate.
Yeah, there's a little bit of growth, of course, factored in. Now, again, that's what we know today.
Yeah, we don't know. Okay.
Right. But we did, like, to just, to your point and question, those are things that we're looking at, not just what our percentage is today, but what it will be with all these obligations 10 years out.
Yes. So it brings me back to the resolution in front of us. I believe we adjusted down 5 or 10 cents 2 or 3 years ago. I think that was Mr. Inaba as well. And I commend these decreases, especially in these homeowner exemption class and affordable class, because that is our residence. That's not second home owners. That's not investment properties. It's not resort and hotel. But I am very interested / concerned about what I've seen from the finance department as far as what's been presented as our debt servicing going forward. So I guess what I'm expressing to Mr. Inaba is my tentative support for the resolution in front of us today. Your answer is very helpful, Director Nakagawa. I yield for right now. Thank you, Chair.
Members? If not, Edith?
Wow, it's been a number of different budget cycles being here. I want to first off thank Chair Inaba for bringing forth a very detailed, articulate, and mathematically accurate spreadsheets and analysis. We have endured hours on this dais in times before without that kind of leadership or mathematical savvy. So very grateful for that. Also want to thank Councilmember Kagiwara and the council members she's worked with to create these new classes and move things forward. I just feel like I would be comfortable moving this resolution forward today and not waiting. I don't necessarily know that there's direct wisdom in increasing the potential monies earned from 17 to $30 million at this point. I think, I don't know. It's a really hard time. Gas is $7 a gallon. Our electric bills are going up. Shipping's going, all the different things every day. It's hard to digest the radical change and the very precarious situations that we are all finding ourselves in, not just economically, but socially and some days emotionally. Um, so at this point today, I'm going to be comfortable moving this resolution forward. But thank you, Councilmember Kagiwara, for your intentions. However, I think in the best interest of what I feel I've heard is advisable from Department of Finance, I want to give the hugest kudos out to Director Nakagawa, your leadership, your determination, your self-sacrifice above and beyond the call of duty is, I see you, we see you, and appreciate you, and your, even on the weekends, you know, sending texts, following up, making sure to get back, and not just with numbers, but with kindness and intuitive understanding of the concerns, the questions, the reasons, the why that's behind the numbers. I can't thank you enough. And going through this budget cycle has been a heavy lift on top of so many other heavy lifts. If you physically represented the strength of the back you actually have, it would be something more like a Arnold Schwarzenegger back. So I just want you to know that we see you. I see you, and I appreciate your help and guidance and endurance. So with that, I yield.
Members who haven't talked yet, yes, this.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Appreciate that time. Grateful for the conversation here and the dive into some of the numbers for sure. Establishing the new tax classes, I think, really provides an opportunity for us to work on in the future as well. I think I think these establishes a good starting place for some of these and a baseline for some of these new tax classes. A lot of discussion here about that, and a lot of future discussions I think we're going to have about it. But supporting our residents and longtime homeowners, our affordable rental class, long-term rentals, definitely good approach within community to support those that are residing here and call Big Island home and Hawaiʻi Island home, while also working with those that are investing in our communities to really proportionally give and support our communities at large. So I think this really establishes a nice baseline for us to have further discussions on the future. So thank you for the discussion and consideration.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chair Naba, for putting this forward. I won't be supporting Councilmember Kagiwara's suggestion to continue to prolong the budget process. I think what you've put forward is something very measured and stable and reasonable. The fact that you were able to generate additional funding while decreasing rates for, you know, the key classes of homeowners and affordable rentals, I think is, I applaud you for that. I think with the other classes, status quo is very important. There's a lot of uncertainty that we're going to be navigating in the future. So just providing that stability for the other classes, I think is important going forward. So I support the resolution as presented, and thank you. I yield.
Chair Naba, you want to, before I go to other members? No? Okay. Mr. Kleinfelder?
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. About a week ago, I got a call because of the output from Councilmember Kagiwara's office, and I was interested that we were going to have a discussion on tax equity. I've been through this process 7 times, and I've never heard it discussed quite like that before. We have the ability of the public to come in and testify at a set date, and then we have this discussion, and we set real property tax rates, and then we set the budget according to our tax rates in accordance with our budget, and it all comes together as one cohesive package. So Mr. Clerk, if I could just ask, I'm interested in this idea that this can be moved to a future date. I'm just wanting to clarify what was meant by Ms. Kagiwara regarding the aspect of the real property tax rates not having to be done today and decided at a later time.
The county code requires that if rates are going to be changed or established in a given fiscal year, that it be done by June 20th of that fiscal year.
So that would leave one more meeting for us to have. Actually, even that is tight. I don't think that even works. How does that work? Does that work in our timeline?
It could work in a variety of ways. I know Director Nakagawa's not going to want to hear this, but the council could adopt the budget first and then set rates afterwards. And I don't know why the code is structured that way, but it seems to give the council that opportunity, because that would, adopting the budget after that would not leave time for the mayor to have the opportunity to veto, which the mayor has that opportunity. So there's numerous things that could occur. Council could call special meetings. There's all kinds of variables. So let your imagination wander.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. Just always interested in the process, and it's good to have the discussions. At least we understand the full process in front of us. I was more of the understanding that we need to provide the budget to the mayor with set property tax values by a certain date, which gives him time to veto should he so decide before we hit our. So the timelines match as we approach July 1st.
Well, to be clear too, the charter requires that the council adopt an operating budget on or before July 1, June 30th. So technically, the charter says that, you know, the council has more time to adopt the budget than the tax rates. But realistically, if the council adopted the budget that late in the fiscal year, it would not provide enough time for the mayor to review the budget, potentially veto it entirely or portions thereof, and then also allow the council time to call a special meeting, if it was so inclined, to override the disapproval of items or the entire veto, all occurring before the beginning of the fiscal year. So there's all these kind of things in play that we look at when we create the calendar that we do.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Clark.
You're welcome very much.
Just good to have the information and the discussion so that we all understand where we stand and so the public's not confused on what's going on. I'll be supporting the resolution as it is. I think that it is balanced. I am worried about future years. I will not be here. As many of us will not be here, and that will leave it on the council then to decide what they want to do with real property tax rates coming into the next fiscal year, as well as 2-3 years out when the debt servicing really starts to accumulate and we have other projects we want to do, or whatever crisis happens next. That's going to leave it to them. And I hate to kick the can down the road and use that stupid saying, but at the same time, for right now, I believe this meets the needs, increases revenue slightly, and meeting with the mayor and the director of finance approval and this body's approval, then so be it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Inaba. Thank you, Mr. Clerk, for providing that timeline clarity. Appreciate it.
And just for the record, I have the saying that having the next councils to decide on the increasing the rates depending on what the shortfall is. Great job. Ms. Kalimba.
Thank you. You know, I don't have a problem with the resolution in front of us per se, but I'm not going to be supporting it just because of process. I feel that we should be able to look at all of the proposed tax rate schedules, and so that is why I will not be supporting it. Not that I'm not supportive of what is in it.
And just for the record again, members could have done amendments to what's being proposed, and so they had the opportunity to do that. Okay, moving on. Ms. Kagiwara.
Thank you. Yeah, so just I do want to lay out some of the differences. I had hoped that, you know, I could appeal to my colleagues' sense of fairness to postpone, but since that's not going to happen, I will lay out some of the specific differences so you can at least hear what those are. I think it's a huge mistake not to address both Tier 1 of the residential rate and the apartment tax class. What is in the apartment tax class, and we can bring, maybe bring real property tax administrator up, please.
Point of order, Chair?
Yeah.
I just have a question, and apologies, but I have a question about discussing legislation that's not actually been brought forth and comparing it to legislation that is, and what are.
You know, that's what I was kind of thinking too.
Mhm.
Mr. Clerk, I've talked to Mr.
No,
Clerk.
I'm gonna give you a little leeway, right? And then, but if it goes on more, like farther, then I'm gonna stop you.
Okay. I have an amendment coming. So if you want to wait for me to talk about it when the amendment is here, that is fine.
I mean,
I can start talking about it now, or we can wait.
I would just ask again for point of order for what the process is in order to help us remain in alignment with due process.
Mr. Clerk?
What is the question for me?
I guess or your interpretation of how much of, I guess, discussion we can have off subject from this, what in front of us.
Well, I'm not the arbiter of that. That is up to the council to decide as far as whether it's the discussion is germane to the motion on the floor. So Ms. Villegas, Councilor Villegas has brought a point of order to you as acting chair. You're the first person to determine whether or not Councilmember Kagiwara's deliberations are germane to the motion on the floor. You make a determination, and that determination can be appealed by the rest of the council if they disagree, if any member disagrees with your ruling on Ms. Villegas's point of order.
Okay, so with the discussion, Ms. Kagiwara, you're using it to kind of delay for the amendment, or what?
I'm not using it to delay on the amendment. I was just going to talk about, because people don't know what the other possibilities are, and I was basically blocked from bringing my resolution to this body on this day by the chair. We both turned our resolutions in. We both had them waived from the finance chair, and mine was blocked. So I would like to at least discuss what is in mine.
But I don't think we can really discuss your resolution because it's not in front of us.
Well, it's coming. I have an amendment coming.
Well, do you want to table this?
That's up to you. I can, like I said, I can start with some basic information now and get us going.
I'm going to give this up. You can either request a motion to table this, and we can take a vote, or we can just proceed.
Okay. And what do you mean by just proceed?
We're going to move on.
Okay.
Without discussing like your full proposal.
Okay. I wasn't planning to discuss the full proposal, but I can make a motion to table this if that's what people want. Yes. All right. I move to table this discussion until my amendment arrives.
Okay, motion by Ms. Kagiwara, second by Ms. Kalimba. The discussion on tabling. No? Okay. We have a roll call?
On the motion to lay resolution 574 on the table, Councilmember Galimba.
Aye.
Councilmember Hustis.
No.
Councilmember Kagiwara.
Aye.
Councilmember Connolly Kleinfelder.
No.
Councilmember Kirkowitz.
No.
Councilmember Campbell. Councilmember Villegas.
No.
Chair Inaba.
No.
Vice Chair Onishi.
No.
Vice Chair Onishi, you have 2 votes in favor, those being Councilmembers Galimba and Kagiwara. 6 opposed, and Councilmember Kimball absent. The motion fails.
Okay. So, Ms. Kagiwara?
Yes. Could I please ask the Real Property Tax Administrator, Lisa Murata, please come up?
Good morning, Lisa Mira, Real Property Tax Administrator.
Thank you. Could you explain or just kind of maybe summarize what kind of properties are in the apartment tax class now?
Yes, the apartment tax class is when you refer to your certification, it's also known as the PIT 2, and it's multifamily properties. It's typically the condominiums.
Yeah, and timeshares?
Timeshares, apartment buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. If anybody is renting long-term to somebody and is in apartment tax class, so they could move into long-term rentals?
Correct. And we have 280 of those that did move into the long-term rental and 239 that moved into the affordable rental.
Okay. And so also, yeah, so they can also move into affordable rental?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So it's basically very similar to residential tiers 1, 2, and 3, except for that it's a multifamily. Is that correct?
Correct. It's usually CPRs that you're going to see properties with CPRs, higher density.
Okay. Okay. So residential tier 1, my understanding is if that residential tier 1 has the ability to move into the long-term rentals or affordable rentals as well?
Correct. And the homeowner exemption.
And
program.
the homeowner exemption. But tiers 2 and 3 do not have the ability to move into long-term rentals.
Correct, because the bill was written with a cap on how much the value of the property could be.
Yeah, okay. So in my thought process, tier 1 is a very important place to incentivize people to move into renting to our residents. So without looking at any changes to either tier 1 or apartment tax class, which are the ones that could actually move into the long-term rentals and rent to our residents, could potentially change their behavior and help us with our housing stock. Is that accurate to say that residential tier 1 and apartment tax class, if they're under 2 million, could move into long-term rental or affordable rental if renting to residents?
Correct, including the agricultural class.
Oh, including the agricultural class. Okay. Okay. And can you give us the numbers again on where the long-term rentals, that 880 people in the long-term rental, what classes did they come from?
They came from all except for the industrial tax class and the hotel and resort tax class. Those are the only ones that did not move into the long-term rental program.
Okay. Are the majority of them, do you have the numbers there in front of you by chance?
No.
Okay. Do you know where the majority of them came from?
No, I wouldn't want to guess offhand.
Okay. I think maybe your deputy administrator, Kata Jo, might have that or know that. Can you come up, please? The reason I'm just bringing this up is I think it's really important when we're talking about incentivizing and disincentivizing behavior that we want to see and not see. So knowing where potentially we can get more housing stock for our residents, more, lots of numbers. As everybody keeps saying, we can't fully just build our way out of the housing shortage, and this is a strategy that really looks at that.
Sorry, Kata Jo, Assistant Real Property Tax Administrator. Give me a quick second. I'm just going to try to pull up these numbers. Okay, so when we look at the long-term rental classifications, the properties that are in that particular classification, we had 66 move from the affordable rental tax class into the long-term rental class. We had 418 properties move from the residential tax class into the long-term rental class. We had 269 parcels in the apartment tax class move into the long-term rental class. We had 3 commercial move into LTR, I'll call it. 73 from agriculture, and we even had 51 properties in the homeowners tax class move into the long-term rental class.
Thank you. So I believe that's 78% of those in the that are now in the long-term rental came from the residential and the apartment tax classes when I did the numbers. I think that's significant. I think that's what Councilmember Galimba and I kind of had in mind when we was trying to make sure that the people in those tax classes that were doing long-term rental or could be incentivized to do long-term rentals had a place to go. And that was very specific so that we could look at appropriately taxing those tax classes. And so that's where I think we're really missing an opportunity both to incentivize behavior, but also to make sure that we don't lose people if we don't address those two classes. I do really appreciate the reduction for homeowners and affordable rentals, and I actually like the long-term rental rate that the mayor sent a little bit, put in a little bit better than what's here. I guess I also want to just talk about the difference between Tier 1 and apartment tax class rates, and if you think there should be a difference in those, or are those basically similar and should be a same rate?
That's something for the county council. You guys tell us what the tax rates are and we plug it in, but how you get there is not up to us.
When I talked to you earlier, we talked about that it's basically the same kind of situation for people. One's just multifamily and one is like standalone homes, but it's basically the same thing in different classes. So it seemed like bringing those together to the same rate made a lot of sense. Just wondering, okay, and when you say agricultural, can I just do one more question, please?
No, I'm going to move on because we have two more members over here.
Okay.
Okay, so Mr. Connolly Kleinfelder.
Thank you,
Oh,
Chair.
I'm sorry. Mr. Hughes says you haven't, or you did.
I've shared before, but please, Councilmember.
Well, you can go for it, and then he'll wrap it up.
Okay, just one question and clarification regarding the apartment class administrative, because you also mentioned it's timeshare too, correct?
Yes.
So it goes beyond multifamily, then it's kind of verges more in that commercial aspect of the apartment class then?
You can look at timeshares that way, yes.
Okay, because Councilmember Kagawa, I kind of see a little bit of difference there in terms of that aspect of apartment where you have more turnover, you have more kind of commercialization of those spaces versus short-term multifamily. It's kind of, I see it a little bit differently in that kind of vein. That's at least how I see the difference between the Res 1 and apartment, especially with that particular use of that space. So, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Connolly Kleinfelder, wrap it up.
Thank you. I'm going to go a different direction here. Thank you, Ms. Mira. Thank you, Mr. Joe. Thank you, Ms. Nakagawa. Thank you, Mr. Inaba. Ms. Kagiwara, the intent admirable. To just clarify process within council services, there was a few days of time to have an amendment ready. It's not in front of us today. So being, I call for the question.
It is on its way right now. I don't know what is taking them so long. I feel like I've been stymied
So
every single.
Call for the question. So
Point. I'm very frustrated. I just want to say, I feel like I've been blocked from speaking. I've been blocked from sharing my work. I've been blocked.
Mr. Clerk, sorry, point of order.
They said it's ready and they're just not walking it in. I don't understand.
Well, things may take time.
I don't understand.
A point of order is non-debatable, and I've called for the question. That's non-debatable. Thank you.
Motion by Ms. Connolly Kleinfelder, second by Mr. Chair Inaba. Roll call, please. On the motion.
Are you fucking kidding me?
On the motion to call for the question, Councilmember Galemba,
No.
Councilmember Eustace,
No.
Councilmember Kagiwara,
No.
Councilmember Connolly Kleinfelder,
Aye.
Councilmember Kirkowitz,
Aye.
Councilmember Kimball, Councilmember Villegas,
Aye.
Chair Inaba,
Aye.
Vice Chair Onishi,
Aye. So
Vice
to-
Chair-
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Vice Chair Onishi, you need 2/3 vote, and that does not qualify.
Okay.
The motion remains on the floor.
Okay, Chair Noble.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone's feedback today. As Councilmember Kanyali Kleinfelder pointed out, and maybe to clarify the record, I did not grant a breach for the secondary resolution. We have our procedural mechanisms by which we can amend a single resolution to get us to where we need to be. So that is why we have just one resolution before us today and not two. It would be far more confusing to be trying to amend potentially two resolutions that essentially accomplish the same thing of setting tax rates. But with that, I do appreciate the support and ask my colleagues to support the resolution 574-26 as is.
Okay, Ms. Kagiwara.
Thank you. Motion to amend, resolution 574-26 for the contents of communication 905.3.
Okay, motion by Ms. Kagiwara, second by Ms. Kalemba. Ms. Kagiwara.
Thank you. Once again, I appreciate Councilmember Inaba stepping up to the plate and bringing this forward. I've been working for a very long time on this, consulting with a lot of different people who are experts on housing policy and tax policy in our county and in our state. These, I believe, reflect slight changes to, I think they're still very much in the same vein of what Councilmember Inaba has put forward, but they reflect slight changes that make a big difference as far as really trying to incentivize the behavior we want to see and disincentivize, as Councilmember Inaba talked about, the ongoing kind of buying up of our land, using our water resources from multimillionaires, billionaires, people who do not live here and do not work here and do not pay income taxes here. So I think it's really important that we look at this. Once again, residential tier 1 and apartment tax under $2 million and under, can move into any of the other lower rates, the affordable rental housing, the long-term rentals, and the homeowner tax class if they do not do short-term rentals or keep a vacant home that they come visit in sparsely over the year. So once again, I think that's really important. I kept Councilmember Inaba's Tier 3. I thought that was a really good rate, as well as his reductions for affordable rental housing and homeowner tax classes, with a slight increase for residential Tier 2 and those changes for residential Tier 1 and apartment tax. I did, in this amendment, agree with the mayor on the rate for the long-term rental being $7.65. So I'd love to hear my colleagues' input on this, and I'm sorry it wasn't here sooner. I apologize.
Okay, members on the amendment. Go ahead, Mr. Connolly Kleinfelder.
Thank you for getting this in front of us. It does provide more revenue to the county by increasing Tier 1, Tier 2, and apartment classes. It decreases the long-term rental class by 10 cents compared to what was brought in the original resolution. a total of about $24 million more in revenue, comparatively.
Just a clarification on that. It's not 24 million more. I believe my resolution brings in 30 million, 30.4, and Councilmember Inaba's brings in 17.8. So the difference there is more like 13.
Okay.
13 or 14.
Thank you for the clarification. Yeah, it's interesting. Thank you.
Any other members? If not, Mr. Clerk, roll call on the amendment.
On the motion to amend Resolution 574 with the contents of communication 905.3, Councilmember Galemba.
Aye.
Councilmember Hustis.
No.
Councilmember Kagiwara.
Aye.
Councilmember Conley Kleinfelder.
No.
Councilmember Kirkowitz.
No.
Councilmember Campbell. Councilmember Villegas.
No.
Chair Inaba.
No.
Vice Chair Onishi.
No.
Vice Chair Onishi, you have 2 members in favor, those being Councilmembers Galemba and Kagiwara. Councilmember Kimball absent, and 6 opposed. The motion fails.
Okay, so we're back to the main motion. Okay, hearing or seeing none. Mr. Clerk, on the main motion.
On the motion to adopt Resolution 574, Councilmember Galemba.
Aye.
Councilmember Hustis.
Aye.
Councilmember Kagiwara.
Aye.
Councilmember Conley Kleinfelder.
Aye.
Councilmember Kirkowitz.
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell. Councilmember Villegas.
Aye.
Chair Inaba.
Aye.
One more.
Vice Chair Onishi.
Aye.
Thank you. Vice Chair Onishi, you have 8 votes in favor with Councilmember Kimball absent. The motion carries by Resolution 574 is adopted.
Okay, and so this concludes our order of the resolutions for this property tax. Meeting is adjourned.
Oh,
and-
no.
continue.
We still
I'm
have
sorry.
our budget.
Oh. I wanted to go home already. Oh, yeah, that's why you guys are here, right? Yeah. Okay, so Mr. Clerk, okay, for the record, I'm passing it over back to Chair Inaba.
Hopefully, we're not that far from adjourning, but we'll continue now with bills for ordinance Bill 135, our operating budget.
Is there any additional testimony for Bill 135? Hearing none. Bill 135
Hang on.
established. I'm sorry.
You can come.
You may ask a question during your testimony, but the council may be inclined to answer it in their deliberations, but they're not allowed to answer it now unless it is a yes or no question.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. I just understand.
Your name for the record.
Oh,
Please
thank you.
introduce
My name is
yourself.
Jalen Brenlin, and I'm coming from Hawaiian Acres. I also serve on our road corporation there. And what I've witnessed is a lot of LLCs really coming in and buying up properties. And as we know, a lot of these corporations have protections as though they are private people, yet they don't have the accountability as private people. It is kind of a bit of a code of business ethic in our country we've witnessed, where people can borrow against their properties to buy more. And so we're seeing this increasingly happen. Is there anything within this bill that directly targets LLCs and their ownership of these within the property tax itself that maybe can kind of define out-of-state or corporation-owned private properties and tax them directly?
Thank you for your testimony. Is there any additional testimony for Bill 135, which is at first reading? Hearing none, Bill 135 establishes an operating budget for the County of Hawaiʻi for the fiscal year July 1, 2026 to June 30, 2027, from Mayor C. Kimo Alameda, dated February 27, 2026, transmitting for consideration the proposed operating budget for the County of Hawaiʻi for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2027. This balanced budget includes an estimated revenues and appropriations of $966,891,661, which represents a proposed 1.4% increase compared to the fiscal year 2025-26 operating budget. This is introduced by Councilmember Connolly Kleinfelder by request. Public hearing was held pursuant to the charter on May 19, 2026. We have communication 754.7 from Mayor C. Kimo Alameda dated May 5, 2026, transmitting Bill 135 Draft 2, which reflects an increase in estimated revenues of $9,516,959 over the first draft, reflects higher than expected property tax collections, and proposes corresponding funding adjustments. And then we have Bill 135 Draft 2, which establishes an operating budget for the County of Hawaii for the fiscal year July 1, 2026 to June 30, 2027, and includes an estimated revenues of $976,408,620 and appropriations of $975,980,388, also introduced by Councilmember Connolly Kleinfelder by request.
Mr. Connolly, a motion please to approve Bill 135 on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Connolly Kleinfelder, seconded by Councilmember Eustis to approve Bill 135 on first reading. Pursuant to Article 10, Section 10-2 of the Hawaii County Charter, the mayor has submitted an amended operating budget to the council on May 5th, 2026. Just a reminder that we have to amend Draft 1 with the mayor's proposed Draft 2 before we can discuss any amendments. But is there any discussion on Draft 1 before we amend to Draft 2? Seeing none, Councilmember Connolly Kleinfelder, may I have a motion please to amend Bill 135 with the proposed Draft 2 as submitted by the mayor via Communication 754.7.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Connolly Kleinfelder, seconded by Councilmember Eustis to amend Bill 135 with the proposed Draft 2 as submitted by the mayor in Communication 754.7. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 7 ayes, 2 excused, Council Members Kimball and Villegas. So we are working now off of Draft 2 that the mayor provided on May 5th via Communication 754.7. Are there any amendments?
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Yes, I would like to amend Bill 135 Draft 2 with the communication of 754.8.
Moved by Vice Chair Onishi, seconded by Councilmember Kirkowitz to amend Bill 135 Draft 2 with the contents of Communication 754.8. Vice Chair Onishi.
Okay, can I have HR please come up? And basically this transfers within the department, so it's not adding on any funding or taking from other departments or whatever. And so I'll have Administrator Takehiro to kind of give a little bit more information about this. And it's kind of simple. Go ahead.
Sure. Good morning. Summer Tokihiro, Director of Human Resources. The amendment is to allow the Department of Human Resources to add 10 student helper positions to the DHR budget. And so this will allow us to develop a program specifically for high school juniors and seniors where we can coordinate directly with school counselors across the Big Island to provide placements in the county in a variety of departments. So the county currently has student helper positions in a variety of departments, but that becomes at the discretion of the department to fill those. So what we want to do is create a program that will provide that employment opportunity, but also an overall orientation to the county, careers in government service, benefits of county employment, help them to create a profile, make sure they understand how to apply for our positions, and get exposure to a variety of different positions within the county. So we'll be able to, even, create placements that may include time in multiple departments. So these 10 positions will allow us to establish a pilot program, which we hope will grow exponentially to create more exposure to careers in county government.
And this will also be allowed for college students too?
These we're going to use specifically for high school, but potentially it could be. We're trying to create a variety of opportunities at different levels. So we already have our professional development trainee and professional trainee positions,
Within
which do
employees,
address,
right?
yeah, which do address college level individuals. And so we're trying to bridge the gap and find ways to address high school at this point.
Great. Thank you very much. Are you at this time?
Any discussion on the amendment? Councilmember Kirkowitz.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Director. Great to see you. I'm a big fan of this particular program. I was a student helper, but when I was in college, I was curious if the placement of students would be during the school year, or is this something that you're looking to do during summer months?
So with the funding request, it will actually allow us to have the 10 positions filled at a level of up to 19 hours a week year round. So we would like to be able to offer job opportunities during the summer, but we also are aware that there are maybe high school seniors that only need one school credit and then have available time in their day for, you know, this type of work. So we'd like to provide that option. So it could potentially provide employment year-round. We want to work directly with the high schools, figure out how many students are interested so that we can customize the duration of the appointment based on, you know, the high school need.
That sounds great. And then are the student helper positions going to be available in East and West Hawaii?
Yes, we want to cover all areas of the Big Island. So right now we're starting with 10 positions, and we do want to cover both East and West Hawaii. The goal is eventually to have at least 2 positions per high school on the Big Island, so that we're not just limiting to broad geographic areas, but really addressing high school students where they work and live, which are also areas where the county provides services.
And then have you identified the departments that are going to be part of this initial pilot?
We haven't identified that with the departments yet. We wanted to work with, we worked with the Director of Finance and also with the Mayor's office to see if we could get approval for this. And then definitely our next step is going to be reaching out to all of the departments and identifying different kind of career path positions and different areas where we can provide this experience.
Awesome. I know that a lot of the high schools run on an academy sort of curriculum, so it's great for them to be able to connect that classroom learning with a potential job opportunity here at the county.
Yeah.
In full support, please let me know if there's anything that I can do personally to help.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Councilmember Galimba.
Oh, sorry.
Already. Thank you, Vice Chair Onishi, for bringing this forward. I believe Councilmember Kirkowitz was just talking about it earlier this week about some of our nonprofit partners like Evalu Industries who focus on this type of work. I just closed out an internship with a high school student from WEA on our side, so it might be good not having to reinvent the wheel, but perhaps even to see if we can partner with some of them because they have documentation, they have certificates, recognition, kind of the whole thing built out already. So it might be good. And if they're only in West Hawaii right now, then, you know, at least give us some direction to get started. So thank you. I think this is a wonderful cause and potentially a stream of new folks into the county who have experience through this program. Thank you. Yeah, Vice Chair Onishi.
Thank you, Chair. And maybe also working with the universities, community college, and maybe having credits for them within the coming college years, right?
We're trying, yes. So, I mean, actively continuing our work to try and develop other internship programs, continuing to work closely with Hawaii Community College. I just actually was speaking with Craig Mitchell, their counselor, about, you know, looking at different ways that we can even expand the CVE program, which is where they do get college credit in certain programs for, you know, working. And so we're trying to expand that because the offering was pretty limited to, I think, a business technology, you know, certificate program. So we're trying to expand that to provide more opportunities in that way as well. So we will definitely continue.
Working with R&D, like for example, they're working with DEM on trying to do with the wastewater staffing, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that's great. Right on. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of amending Bill 135, Draft 2, with the contents of Communication 754.8, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 8 ayes, 1 excuse. Councilmember Kimball. Bill 135, Draft 2 has been amended with the contents of Communication 754.8. Are there any other discussion or amendments? Councilmember Kaneli Kleinfelder and then Villegas.
Thank you. To the testifier, the budget bill in front of us would not directly affect policy regarding LLC ownerships. Maybe the tax rate may apply. That may be something that we can address legislatively, but it will not happen within this budget bill. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Just wanted to make that mention. Thank you.
Councilmember Villegas.
Yes. Mr. Kawauchi, I was hoping you could come up and answer a couple questions about the budget for DEM. Oh, sorry, is it Kawaguchi? Sorry, I had a high school teacher that was Kawauchi, so that just still always.
Yeah, so Craig Kawaguchi, Deputy Director, Environmental Management.
Thank you for being here today. I have some questions as they relate to this next fiscal cycle budget and the funding that was allocated in the prior fiscal year, the $350,000 for the next step contract for the Kahaluu sewer project, and whether or not that funding has been encumbered or needs to be or already has been included in this next fiscal cycle.
So it's, well, they're working on it, but we're working with the consultants to move ahead with the
encumbering the funds for the contract that the resources were allocated for over a year ago, or almost a year ago.
Oh, no, not yet.
So my question then to you is, do I need to do a budget amendment to include that money in this next fiscal cycle in order to ensure that the funding's available and this project that unfortunately most of my community already thought was happening and the contract had gone out and the work was already being done?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we're working with the consultant to get the contract done, and then it'll, I guess, or, sorry.
I'm just looking for a guarantee because
Oh,
we
yeah,
can't
no.
afford to let this
Yeah.
fall to the wayside and not be budgeted for next year if you're unable to get it encumbered before this fiscal cycle.
So we'll
The department intends to finalize negotiations this week and route the contract. Once the contract is routed and executed, those funds will be encumbered this year. And Deputy Director has ensured us that that is happening in the next few days.
Yeah.
Okay, will you please reach out to me
and I'll let you know.
Yeah, because otherwise I need to take steps.
Yeah,
okay,
for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate. I'll be on standby to get that confirmation. Thank you. Appreciate it. I yield.
Thank you, Councilmember Villegas. Councilmember Eustace.
Thank you, Chair. In lieu of having every department come up one by one, Director Nakagawa, could I just have you speak in broad strokes about some of the changes in the Exhibit A? Thank you. Just two things in particular.
Diana Nakagawa, Finance Department. Brief overview.
Well, I'll just ask the two questions.
Okay.
So it's because I noticed quite a bit of change here on two particular things with white paper purchases and then community events. So if you could speak about the white paper.
Absolutely. Sure. So we are finally correcting or changing the way the county has approached some supplies. So in the past, we actually had a storeroom, and some of the supplies were purchased through finance in our purchasing division. Paper was one of the last things that was still centralized and being purchased by the purchasing division, and it just didn't make sense to continue to do that. That is part of what the department should be able to monitor in their own budget. So we just kind of cleaned that up, and those budgets were moved to the departments to appropriately purchase paper.
Thank you. And then in terms of the community events, not a lot of detail on what those community events look like, but most departments, if not all, have now some allocation towards.
That is correct. And I believe this also came out in our budget discussion as well. In some of the county-sponsored community events that we put on, really have been over time done through a lot of donations by our county employees. And a lot of these events have become fairly significant in terms of what is being produced. And they're great and fabulous events, but a lot of it has been through donations of employees. And this wouldn't cover all of those expenses, but it does provide the departments a little bit of funding to do things like our Magic of the Season event. A lot of departments spend thousands of dollars out of their own pockets and donations to cover crafts and food supplies. So this is just an attempt to assist in some of these events that have gotten a little larger over time, and they are truly county-sponsored community events.
Thank you. Appreciate that. A couple other questions I have, and Director, may pertain to you. You're welcome to stay there. It's first for police, actually. I think we've seen some changes, and I don't know, Director, Deputy Chief can also maybe speak to this, but we've increased the personal allowance for personal vehicle allowance, correct? Is that still ongoing discussion?
So in the police budget, we've added some funding for a couple different things. The protective vest carriers, certainly Chief can speak more to that. A couple of patrol vehicles, recruitment program funding, and also a subsidy. So in regards to the subsidy, that is in anticipation. There are still agreements and negotiations that need to occur, and I can let the Chief speak to that. But with the support of the mayor, we did put some funding in.
Thank you, Director. Deputy Chief.
Good morning, Deputy Chief Byrd. So speaking to the car allowance, those are still, in conversations. But I can say our current car allowance what was in effect in 2011. So it hasn't been changed since then. And when that was enacted, they basically made two groups. So group one, which is basically our patrol guys, so they're out there with their subsidized vehicles very frequently. And then I think that rate is $600. And then group two is more of our detectives, who's not necessarily out as much on the road as our patrol guys. And that rate was $562. So we all know over time, prices for everything have increased. Our officers are required to get vehicles in which a subsidy is paid. And so the conversation is to raise that subsidy with everybody in one group at a $800 rate, which is consistent with other counties. And, the officers are required to maintain their vehicles, which can be costly as well. So $800 is a pretty fair, low rate, but it's fair.
Sure. No, and Deputy Chief and Director, I really appreciate you looking at this and supporting our officers that are out there using their personal vehicles, because we have the distances they drive, the wear on the vehicle. So thank you for taking a look at this and appropriating accordingly.
Thank you.
Thank you. My next question is actually for Chief Volpe.
Good morning. Dan Volpe, Temporary Fire Chief.
Morning, Chief. Good to see you. First of all, I just want to thank you. Truly thank you for looking through your budget and allocating funding for a captain's position in the Waikoloa station. I think it really means a lot to the community to have a full contingent of firefighter officers and captains there in the community. So thank you for working with Director Nakagawa. It's a conversation we've had for quite a few months now, trying to see what's possible for a station that didn't have a captain in a high-risk area. So thank you for making that commitment to the community there. Really appreciate that. In regards to we've talked about in the past, and I talked to Director and Chief, you before about this, on your subscriptions and for technology and pieces like that. And just wanted to get a better understanding of your implementation, reallocation, re-upping Pulse Point, and how you're putting that into play, and when that might go into effect in the next year.
So yeah, certainly we're still looking at where that funding will come from within our budget. We are looking at recognizing the impact that Pulse Point can have to the community. We're actually looking at a couple of nonprofit options within the community who have offered to step up and support cost share and support donations. So the impact is not entirely on the county to support that. We've got meetings in a few weeks to kind of look at that as an alternative approach. But in the meantime, looking at subscription fees, just including that within it. So we do maintain budget for subscription. We do maintain budget within each of our sections for software solutions. In our training budget, we've been running off a AFG grant, a federal grant to support a long-going company officer training initiative. As that grant, the period of performance winds down, we've made some adjustments to our budget to increase funding for specifically computers and for some of the miscellaneous equipment to also capture some of those costs. Because we'll be outside of the grant period of performance, but in order to maintain continuity, we've adjusted funding within there to kind of capture that. And so based on the ultimate final resolution of where the funding comes from for Pulse Point, it should hopefully be able to, if not from outside, it'll come from within.
Okay, don't hesitate to ask us if you need support for that subscription model.
Yes.
You know, happy to look at that. You know, it's really transparency for you, the department, the community, in trying to recognize some of the challenges and dangers out on the highway and hazards. I mean, sometimes civil defense doesn't pick up all those things that are being pushed out on the Nixle alerts and Everbridge. So I think sometimes community looks to these other avenues, and that is based off of the information that's coming from your department.
Right.
So it has grounds and basis in what your officers are doing and what our police officers are doing as well out in the field, and gives some, very public space about what's happening in the community and where areas too that are issues, dangers, hazards, those sort of things.
Right.
Yeah, so please don't hesitate to, looking forward, what that need might look like. Yeah, because I know there's a lot of information that can be provided to community through these sort of subscription models that police and fire and civil defense kind of put out there to community. So
certainly, Pulse Point, as originally intended, is a way to link CPR and community members who are trained to perform CPR to cardiac arrest in their neighborhood, as a way to decrease response time, get neighborhood, and that's the intent, and that's the original intent of that, and that's how we'll sort of implement it moving forward, as a way to make sure that we get the right people in the right place, and recognize community assets where they're able to. So it is significant for our department and for the community at large.
absolutely, to see those AEDs out there in community and kind of know where they are and get to them appropriately.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate the time.
Sure.
Thank you. My next question is I just wanted to share with my colleagues that I did reach out to Director Tokihiro. I am looking at some of the vacancies, long-term vacancies in some of our budgets. So just waiting for more information to share with all of you at that point when that information comes. But kind of looking at that perspective about some of the positions that have remained vacant for an extended period of time. So just curious about that and seeing what kind of additional space we have in the budget. But Deputy Director Azevedo, just a quick question for you.
Deputy Director Neil Azevedo, Public Works.
Actually, this one might be for the second bill. Sorry about that. Sorry, Deputy Director. It's really more a capital project. I apologize. I have my notes mixed up. Nope, sorry. Sorry. Sorry, Deputy. Actually, so my last question is really for DEM. So Director Gervin, if you don't mind joining us up at the front.
Director Dan Gervin, DEM.
Thank you, Director. Good to see you this morning. I appreciate the conversations that we had in our budget hearings back in April, and the conversations about your overall departmental budget. If you could just share with us, in the Exhibit A, you talk about some of the reductions in your budget. If you could provide some insight into where those changes have taken place?
The single biggest reduction was the elimination of payrolls for vacant positions that we have in our current department.
And those are positions that were vacant for some time?
They've been vacant for some time, and at least at this date, we don't have any hope of filling them, at least early in the coming fiscal year.
Okay. But hoping to kind of reapply those when the need arises then?
Yes.
Okay. So it's really just looking at your salaries and wages and kind of reducing those positions, those vacant positions then?
Yes.
Any other changes within the department to kind of tighten it up, streamline a little bit more?
We also had some reductions in, I'm sorry, to get the details, I'm going to invite Robin up.
Sure, thank you.
Good morning, Robin Bauman, Business Manager for Environmental Management. So, like Director Gervin mentioned, the bulk of the changes were reducing the salaries and wages and corresponding fringes for positions we don't expect to have filled at the beginning of the fiscal year. Other changes were some reductions in contractual services. We looked at where we could maybe trim some things and might not be able to, for things that might not actually happen next year.
Okay. And then could you speak a little bit about the increase for the coconut rhinoceros beetle efforts? The increase there?
Yes, we're looking to purchase an air curtain incinerator to help battle the coconut rhinoceros beetle. And I'll ask Deputy Director Kawaguchi to maybe explain a little more about that.
Thank you, Ms. Bauman.
Mike Rivera, Division Chief for DEM. The air curtain incinerator, or ACI, will help mitigate the invasive species CRB on the west side of the island. It'll curtail and reduce the cost to transport that material to Wehoff, or the West Hawaii Organics Facility. And it produces a biochar, or a soil amendment. So it's actually, it produces a nice product that we can blend in with the mulch or other products. In the future, as CRB becomes less of an invasive species, it can be used instead of transporting the green waste from the different transfer stations, it can be mobilized to the different transfer stations to create the biochar at the facilities, reducing transportation costs, and then we can use that biochar as an amendment to give to the residents.
And you would be maintaining that incinerator at what location, sorry?
It right now on the west side, it would be at Kilikahi.
Okay,
Yeah.
so be stationed there
Yeah.
for the services on that side.
For this
kind of that
CRB.
regional area.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's mobile, so it can be moved around. If we see a hot spot that's near Wehoff or Waikoloa, you can mobilize it to those areas. That's what makes it a great piece of equipment. It's not stationary, it's going to be mobile, so it has effectiveness there.
Thank you for the clarification. Yeah. Thank you, Director Gervin. Appreciate the time this morning. Yeah. Chair, I'll yield for now.
Thank you, Councilmember Eustace. Vice Chair Onishi.
Thank you, Chair. And I just wanted to acknowledge Mayor Alameda, Fire Chief Opie, and Finance Director Nakagawa in supporting ocean safety. I think within my 2 years, we made, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, 7 full-time permanent positions for ocean safety now for island-wide. And that's really gonna help our covering of our beaches island-wide. So I really wanna thank you guys very much for working with me and seeing the support and the need for those positions. So thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Councilmember Kanyali Kleinfelder.
Thank you. Maryland Manager, can you come up, please? Thank you. Thanks for being here today. So the reduction in your budget, I think, really speaks to positions, but I think it also speaks to the greater conversation that we had regarding upcoming projects, not landing things on time. And we got into the weeds about certain facilities and certain contracts, but I didn't even get into the whole of the budget. A few things came to my attention I wanted to ask you folks about. The solid waste sorting facility in Hilo, East Hawaii. Is the floor of that facility in good shape?
As Director Gervin, DM, as I understand it, it's not in good shape, and I'm going to ask Mike to come forward to address the details on that.
Thank you.
Mike Rivera, Division Chief for Solid Waste. The floor is not in good condition. So there are plans to master plan and that whole facility there, including relocating the scales, updating the floor to be more of a actual mainland style reinforced, deeper concrete, and add a second chute or offloading chute into that building. Also redirecting some of the traffic to make it more commercial as well as public in there, reducing the chutes that you see currently up front.
Okay, that's what I had heard as well from a concerned member of our community who was watching folks drive equipment at high speeds across a floor with rebar sticking up and was concerned for the safety of the people driving the equipment. Because if they hit a piece of rebar and a skid steer doing 15, 20 miles an hour as they're flying to that facility, trying to keep up with the amount of rubbish that comes into that facility, somebody's going to get hurt.
Correct. There is no rebar sticking up, but the floor is in bad shape.
Might want to go take a look.
Yeah. We just did a repair out there just recently, just to get it back in shape, close to the original chute there. So I don't know if that was the area, but yeah, I'm out there every morning.
And then is that budgeted for next year?
Is it budgeted? No, we have to, we're going to try to go out for bid for that right now and get some money numbers so we know what we're working with to determine what is actually needed to repair the whole facility out there, and then we'll go from there to phase it in.
Okay. That facility handles most of the trash from the east side of Hawaii Island and is the main consolidation point to go to Pu'uanahulu.
Yeah, it takes about 140 tons a day at the east facility out there. 10 to 12 loads go over from the Hilo facility over to Pu'uanahulu every day, 7 days a week.
Okay, that's my understanding.
Yeah.
How many of our semi-trucks that haul the waste over are in good working condition? How many do we have, and how many are we currently leasing through third parties or using third parties to help transfer?
It changes. Right now we have 4 rentals and 2 decent county tractors and trailers.
So we're leasing, renting 4 semi-trucks.
Right, rentals.
And we have 2.
Mm-hmm.
And are we using third parties to help us haul?
No.
We do everything ourselves in-house, but we are leasing the semi-trucks.
Correct.
Okay. How many trucks go over the hill every day?
3.
3?
Mm-hmm.
Back and forth?
3 times.
Do we backhaul compost material?
We are backhauling, but not to the Hilo facility. We've backhauled to the Kelikehi and Waihino facilities. So in April, we did close to 5,300 cubic yards of backhauling to Kelikehi from Wehoff. Right now, the inventory at Wehoff is actually very low. So the amount of mulch over there is, I think it's just a summer or seasonal trend. It's not at its current volume that we normally see out there.
Is there funds budgeted in your DEM budget to increase your trucks so that we're not renting?
That would be the ultimate goal. So I've presented Director Dan here, Gerben, with how we would do a fleet rotational bit for the equipment so we can get off of that where we're renting and leasing and having increased repair and maintenance costs on these vehicles. If we get on a regular cycle for leasing as well as for purchasing every 3 years, if you're going to look at how we run the operation for fleet, the first year, if we got a new vehicle or a truck, would go over the saddle route. After that, the second and third years, we'd start rotating that equipment around the island to take the pressure and stress of the haul on Saddle Road, and that'll increase the life of the. Right now, this is going back and forth, and we don't have the inventory to properly maintain and do the servicing that's required on that haul on a regular basis, so it becomes an issue.
Sorry, maybe I missed it. Do you have money budgeted to purchase more semi-trucks in your budget?
Yes.
How much?
It's for 3 tractors for next year,
Okay.
yeah, as well as 3 trailers.
3 tractors, 2 trailers?
Yeah, and that should be going every year.
Okay. The facility, as we speak to composting, mulching, CRB, but also this new idea of trying to do food waste into our system, is there any movement on phase 2 of the contract with Hawaiʻi Earth Recycling to begin composting food?
I have not begun those discussions with them on that compost.
Okay. When does the contract with HER come up?
It doesn't come up. I don't know that.
Yeah, so Craig Kawaguchi, Deputy Director, Environmental Management. So right now, the food waste or the composting with food waste is suspended, and the current contract goes to 2036.
So it does have an end date?
Yeah.
And then we renegotiate in 2036
We would put it back out.
for bid?
A bid, yeah.
Okay. It requires a new facility, correct, to be able to take food waste from the community and compost it with mulch? Or it's a different term then, it's not mulching, it's not composting, it's, what is it?
Well, like to mix the food waste and so it'll be a facility, a separate facility.
Okay.
So that was suspended. They were currently looking at shipment at one point.
Yeah.
But they found out there wasn't enough food waste being generated.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. We dove into big projects, but we didn't dive into all these little extra components of what DEM handles. Is there funds in the budget to improve our other facilities that handle our other transfer stations across Puna, across the island? Because a lot of them really are in disrepair. Are we looking to fix any of those extra transfer stations that we have in the rural areas of our community?
Yeah, so normally we do one a year, but there is funding to repairs, to upgrade.
How many do we have?
There's 21.
We do one per year.
21. Oh, how many? Sorry.
How many transfer stations?
Yeah, 21 transfer stations.
So we do one a year, so every
One a
21
year,
years we circle back.
Yeah. 1 a year or 2 year if we can.
Okay. What is the fund set aside for transfer station rehabilitation?
The amount of money or 2 million.
2 million.
CIP.
CIP?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. There's a broad picture here, is what I'm trying to develop. We focused in intently on wastewater projects, because that's big and it's scary, but I just wanted to bring that up and have the discussion. Thank you for answering my questions. I yield for right now.
Councilmember Kirkowitz.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering if anyone from Mass Transit Agency is here or on Zoom.
Hi, good morning. Jennifer Martin, Assistant Administrator, Mass Transit.
Thank you, Assistant Administrator. I'm not sure if you were here this morning when a testifier, Auntie Mapulani, just talked about the need for more resources and support for bus service in the Lower Puna area. And I wondered if any part of your budget can help to achieve some of the suggestions she had.
We are reevaluating some of our routes. That change was actually recent to reduce service to every 2 hours versus hourly. So we have received complaints regarding it, so we are reevaluating it again. And yes, I did hear her testimony this morning.
Okay, and then the fact that we have a lot of kupuna or different abled individuals trying to access the bus, many of them are having to wait out in the elements because there aren't any bus shelters. I know we talked about it during budget hearings, but I wondered if you had any more information about progress that can be made to either contract an organization to build shelters, if that's something that we can do internally, or if I should be preparing some of my CRF to engage a local group like Rotarians to build these shelters so that folks can wait for the bus in dignity.
So in the Puna area primarily, we actually just put up another bus shelter across of the Punakai Shopping Center, which was damaged a few years ago. So that has recently been replaced. We are working with our consultant to put out a contract to get more bus shelters. I'm also working on an SPO to purchase more benches and shelters via that way.
Is an SPO special purchase order?
Yes.
Sorry, okay.
Yes, it is. So it is in the plan and actually in the works right now. As far as other bus shelters across the island, we're waiting on some permits to proceed with shelters in the Pepekeo, Papeko area, as well as Ainaloa and Volcano.
Okay, thank you. And then the timeline, you said that you're going to be contracting soon. When can we expect shelters to be installed?
So the ones we're waiting on the state permit for, we're hoping to be done by the end of the year, if not sooner. And the rest of them, we're probably going to get our contract going within the next few months.
Okay, is it possible to get an email from you noting the priority of shelter installations in the various districts and to let us know if there's anything we can do to help support acceleration of certain shelters? You know, it breaks my heart to see folks kind of waiting on the side of the road by the Ainaloa roundabout or at the top of Kaloli and HPP, just waiting in the rain or in the hot sun. So if there's any way that we can kind of accelerate installation, I would love to explore what the options are.
Okay, we'll get you that information.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Assistant Administrator.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Vegas.
Thank you. While we have you here, can I ask also a question kind of in alignment with what Councilmember Kirkowitz was talking about? I've had a number of constituents continue to reach out to me and wondering for a timeline and update on the shelter kind of on the road behind Target. Yeah, that space is very hot, very barren, and a number of people are there constantly. So is that included in this budget? Are we moving forward with that? What are the...
So the concern with the Loloku Street, yes, it is top priority. That was meant to just be a temporary hub. We have requested assistance from Lilio Kalani Trust because that is their property to construct some kind of temporary shelter, and unfortunately was not granted approval. So we are looking and working with the mayor's office on different properties in Kona to create a hub area for the buses. So until we get further information on that, I think that's all I can share regarding that right now.
Interesting. Also disappointing. Very disappointing.
Yeah, we've had a few conversations to just something temporary. So we are aware that that is a very hot location and it does need some kind of shelter. So we're looking for alternate areas right now.
Yeah, as it stands right now, is that like considered a hub, like where there's multiple points of connection for the different transport?
So that area right now is the primary transfer spot for all corner routes. both in Kona and as well as routes coming in from Pahala and Hilo. So it is a very busy location.
Very busy location. Interesting. That was the temporary, because I had seen plans from transportation about, maybe using Old Airport, or maybe, there was a lot of different things. So this is just
There was
the temporary.
discussion on Old Airport. Right now we're looking at a parking area on Kuakini. We also talked about the old Kmart facility. So,
But that's also QLT.
there has been conversation. They were more open to that suggestion versus where we are now.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And probably closely tied to our challenges with the unhoused populations in that
Yes.
area and utilizing that space. Okay, well, thank you for the update. I appreciate that you guys are continuing to have those conversations, and hopefully QLT will open up some opportunity to support the collaborative good in this way. Thank you. I yield.
Councilmember Kagiwara.
Thank you, Chair. I'm wondering if, thank you, I have a question for, I guess, Deputy Managing Director. Are you representing the administration right now? Yeah, can I ask you a question?
Good morning, Deputy Managing Director Merrick Nishimoto.
Thank you. Just wondering on the administration's budget for sister city events. I noticed that this year, the bulk of the money was under miscellaneous contract services, and there's $10,000 for travel and conferences, and then going into next year, those have flipped. Those amounts had flipped. Now it's $40,000 in travel and conferences and $10,000 in miscellaneous conference contractual services. Is that a change in the way that the administration is working with sister cities, or was that just an error before, or what is that about?
Great question. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask for some assistance on this because Sister Cities was not part of my involvement with the mayor's office budget.
Sure.
Director Nakagawa, are you able to comment on this one a little bit? I'm not sure.
Sorry.
No, absolutely.
Thank
the
you,
correct
Director.
person.
If you
Yep.
can just, I just noticed that that's, I don't know if it's a programming difference or what, or it's an accounting just change on page 9 under administration. Sister cities at the top.
Of course.
It looks like this year we have $10,000 for travel conferences, and then and $40,000 for miscellaneous contract services, and then going into next year we have $40,000 for miscellaneous contracts. For travel, and $10,000 for miscellaneous services. Are we changing the way things are being done?
Of course, Diana Kagawa, Finance Department. Yeah, this is just programmatically more aligned with what the team is intending to do. So looking at previous years and also what they intend to do in the next year. We just wanted to put it in the correct areas.
Okay, so more travel for the administration, less, I guess the contract services are like hosting events here? Is that what for?
It could be,
visiting?
some of it.
Do you know what else is in that?
I don't know what else they have. I can get that. I can get a better list for you.
I'm just wondering because that is quite a big flip.
Yeah, it's programmatic. It is really looking at what the intention is planned for the next year, and kind of aligned with where previous expenses have probably been.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't quite accurate before.
It's just better alignment with actuals.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. And then I don't know if animal control has anybody here. Is anybody maybe online? Okay. My question has to do with a discussion I had about the new state laws that are coming down, and if we want to declare an animal a dangerous dogs, I believe part of it is that we need to provide signage for that. And I don't know, and I understand it can be kind of pricey to do like the metal signage. And so I just want to make sure that we've put something in the budget so we can align with the new state law and make sure that we have that funding. And it's not having that funding it doesn't stop us from, working with the community to say this is a dangerous dog and we want to make sure that they are contained appropriately and have the signage. So I can follow up with them on that, but I just wanted to bring that up today. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Councilmember Kagiwara. Any further discussion on draft 2 as amended? Okay, reminder to the council and to the public, this is the first reading at council. We will have another special council meeting back in Hilo Chambers on June 4th, where we will be at second and final reading for both the operating and capital improvement budgets. So amendments can still be made at that time as well. With that, all those in favor of approving Bill 135, draft 2, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 7 ayes, 2 excused. Council members Kaniali, Kleinfelder, and Kimball. We will proceed now with the capital improvement project budget. Mr. Clerk, did you already read that in earlier? Not yet. Okay, please go ahead.
Nope, sit back and enjoy this one. Is there any testimony for Bill 136? Hearing none, Bill 136 relates to public influence and financing thereof for the fiscal year of July 1, 2026 to June 30, 2027, from Mayor C. Kimo Alameda, dated February 27, 2026, transmitting the proposed capital budget for the fiscal year 2026-2027 and the capital improvements program for the next 6 years from fiscal year 2026-2027 to 2031-2032, which includes 45 projects requiring total appropriation of $358.74 million, of which $42 million are to be funded by federal grants, $23 million to be funded by state grants, $285.24 million to be funded in whole or part by bonds, and $8.5 million to be funded by private funds, introduced by Councilmember Connolly Kleinfelder by request. The public hearing required by the charter was held on May 19, 2026, and Communication 755.3 for Mayor C. Kimo Alameda, dated May 5, 2026, transmits Bill 136 Draft 2, which includes 44 projects and an increase of $16,959,000 in appropriations over the first draft. Bill 136 Draft 2 relates to public improvements and financing thereof for fiscal year July 1, 2026 to June 30, 2027. It requires a total appropriation of $375,700,000, of which $55,700,000 are intended to be funded by federal grants, $23 million to be funded by state grants, $288,500,000 to be funded whole or part by bonds, and $8,500,000 to be funded by private funds. This bill was also introduced by Councilmember Connolly Kleinfelder by request. We have 2 communications, those being Communication 755.4, also known as Memo Number 1, from Councilmember James Hustis, dated May 13, 2026, transmitting proposed amendment to reappropriate Parks and Recreation Department's Waikoloa Gymnasium project in the amount of $2 million, and Communication 755.5, also known as Memo Number 2, from Councilmember James Hustis, dated May 13, 2026, transmitting a proposed amendment to add the Lindsay Road Extension project in the amount of $1 million.
Chair, a motion to approve Bill 136 Draft 2 at first reading.
Moved by Councilmember Hustis, seconded by Councilmember Galimba to approve Bill 136 at first reading. We're still on draft 1 at this time. So pursuant to Article 10, Section 10-2 of the Hawaii County Charter, Mayor Alameda has submitted an amended capital budget to the council on May 5th, 2026. Again, we do have to amend draft 1 with the mayor's proposed draft 2 before we can discuss any amendments. Before we take that motion, is there any discussion on draft 1? Seeing none, Mr. Hustis, a motion please to amend Bill 136 with the proposed draft 2 as submitted by Mayor Alameda via Communication 755.3.
So moved, Chair.
Moved by Councilmember Hustis, seconded by Councilmember Galimba to amend Bill number 136 with the proposed draft 2 as provided in Communication 755.3. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 6 ayes, 3 excused. Council members Kimball, Kaniali Kleinfelder, and Onishi. Bill 136 has been amended to draft 2. With that, I'll hand it over to Councilmember Hustis.
Thank you, Chair. just circling back, Deputy Director Azevedo, just a question on the Coconut Island Bridge, if you don't mind.
Deputy Director Public Works, Neo Azevedo.
Thank you, Deputy Director. Apologies for earlier. Appreciate you coming up again just wanted to speak a little bit about and hear a little bit about Coconut Island Bridge. We saw it previously for 20 million with Parks and Recreation and now 8 million with DPW. So I know there were some other changes that Parks and Rec wanted to do on the island itself and work there that may have been part of the whole project. Just want to get a little bit of understanding of 8 million for that bridge and overall work there.
Yes, first of all, we'll be doing a temporary bridge, getting temporary bridge in first. So then after we'll be a lot for a permanent bridge. There's nothing, we're only concentrating on the bridge right now, nothing else with the island.
And it's something that will remain with Public Works going forward?
Yes, the bridge will remain with Public Works.
Okay.
We'll be in charge of all bridges on this island.
Okay.
Except on state highways.
Right, of course. Thank you. Yeah, it's still a big figure for a lot of community members. I think when it was first $20 million in the papers, we're talking about $20 million. That's a big price tag. And 8 million is still significant for the span across the ocean there. I mean, what's the distance of the span there?
80 feet.
80 feet.
80 feet. The total is 240.
Okay, and it's being rebuilt as it was, what it currently looks like, or kind of going through a new sort of design sort of element?
Right now, we get the consultants looking at it, and they'll let us know what can be built.
Okay. And I'm sure funding sources, you'll be looking elsewhere for support from feds and state to kind of maybe COCUA and that sort of work.
We're already looking at the federal funds.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy. I appreciate it. Thanks, Ms. Kouloulos. Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Okay. While I have the floor here, Chair, if you don't mind, I'd like to amend Bill 136, Draft 2, with the contents of Communication 755.4.
Moved by Councilmember Houston, seconded by Vice Chair Onishi to amend Bill 136, Draft 2 with the contents of Communication 755.4. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. This is a reappropriation for a gymnasium. Waikoloa Village does not have any sort of indoor recreational facility whatsoever. There's a small community building that's used for after-school projects and little events, but nothing of a sort where community, and a growing community specifically, can gather in a space indoor for sporting events, community events. So it could also double as a gathering place for the community at the end of the day as well. So this is reappropriating funds for this project. I've identified an area in the community. There's ongoing conversations. Communities looking at different places within the Waikoloa Village area. This specifically looks at the Kamakoa lands near where we already have Kamakoa Park. So it would be kind of located within that regional area. What was previously appropriated was 200,000. I don't think 200,000 will get very far in a design and study for a gymnasium for that community, that kind of scale. So the number is significantly more than what was previously on the appropriation. So I'm asking for support in this consideration to provide the community with an indoor recreational facility in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eustace. All those in favor of amending Bill 136, Draft 2 with the contents of Communication 755.4, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 8 ayes, 1 excused. Councilmember Kimball. The amendment via 755.4 has passed.
Thanks, Chair. I'd now like to amend Bill 136, Draft 2 as amended with the contents of Communication 755.5.
Moved by Councilmember Houston, seconded by Vice Chair Onishi to further amend Bill 136, Draft 2 with the contents of Communication 755.5. Councilmember Eustace.
Thank you, Chair. I think most everyone in this room is familiar with the Waimea community and the bottleneck that's presented at the Lindsay Road intersection with Mamalohoa Highway at our main intersection there in Waimea Town. This project proposes an extension of Lindsay Road that would connect to Alohia Road, which runs Kona south of Mamaloa Highway, kind of on the back stretches behind the Parker Ranch Shopping Center, the Department of Education campus there into the Parker Ranch facilities, where it kind of connects with the Kalani City District Park in that stretch of Waimea. If you look at a lot of our, you look at our real property tax maps, you look at even DPW maps, we look at state plans, this extension of this road from the main intersection at Lindsay Road and Mamaloa Highway continues on to connect with Alohia. And many maps and many plans, but we've never taken that step in any capacity to make that connection. And there is, of course, some obligation from Parker Ranch, the large landowner in that space, to come to the table and work on that project as well. So that is kind of called out in the FIS here, that the county is contributing to this this work, but the large landowner is party to it at a greater extent for sure, because there are some obligations there. But definitely wanted to start programming these sort of things that have been called out in state regional safety plans, in county plans, that these are key intersections in community where sometimes we bottleneck, and there are challenges in connectivity in the Waimea area. So this is one of those key connections that pushes through that space. There's also the opportunity to work with the Department of Education on their campus master plan, which is an adjoining property there. And then, of course, as Parker Ranch sees their changes and what their plans are in the future, there's definitely connectivity in those spaces for housing opportunities, as this council has talked about in the past, to kind of connect that core center of Waimea. So that's what this project kind of speaks to, and predicting and projecting future changes in that main intersection area. So happy to answer any questions my colleagues might have on it. Thank you.
Councilmember Kagiwara.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to say I'm supportive of this, and I do really like to see these kind of projects brought forward where, in this case, we're looking like the county will spend about $1 million, but we can perhaps pull down $5 million from other sources. I think these are the kind of projects that we should be looking at right now when our budgets are really tight, and when we also have so much need in the community. So appreciate your work on this and happy to support. I yield.
All those in favor of amending Bill 136, Draft 2 as amended with the contents of Communication 755.5, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 8 ayes, 1 excused. Councilmember Kimball. The amendment via Communication 755.5 has passed. Councilmember Eustace, you still have the floor.
Thank you for your patience here this morning. Chair, I move to amend Bill 136, Draft 2, further with the contents of Communication 755.6.
Moved by Councilmember Eustace, seconded by Councilmember Kaniali'i Kleinfelder to further amend Bill 136, Draft 2 with the contents of Communication 755.6. Councilmember Eustace.
Thank you, Chair. What you have in front of you for 755.6, it's currently in the Draft 2 capital budget. This is simply amending the title of the project name, as well as programming figures further out for the project in part of that whole property, the Kamakoa property there in Waikoloa Village. So what it previously said is the Kamakoa Nui Mini Loop Road Infrastructure and Housing. So I was looking at it from a bigger picture that we started programming just for, and you've heard these conversations from community members have come to this space and talked about the county's responsibility on that property and our role that we play, especially as we develop housing in that area, that we should look at the bigger picture of connecting across the entire property. So that's what the amendment proposes here, is to not just look at a single or like interior loop within the property, but proposing that we also are projecting figures and dollars to build infrastructure across the entire property. So it does not change what Office of Housing has already allocated and that their work is. They've had discussions with us here in our budget hearings about maybe reassessing how they do the roads within there, whether it's just the southern portion of the road to connect end to end of the property, or what have you internally and that sort of stuff. So that it allows some flexibility within the project without really changing any substance of this, but giving the Office of Housing the ability to start programming for the future to plan for the entire infrastructure within that property there. So just kind of looking a little bit long term for this property here. I appreciate your support. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. All those in favor of further amending Bill 136 Draft 2 with the contents of Communication 755.6, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 7 ayes, 2 excused. Council members Kimball and Onishi. The amendment to Bill 136 Draft 2 via Communication 755.6 has passed.
Thanks, Chair. I move to further amend Bill 136 Draft 2 with the contents of Communication 755.7.
Moved by Councilmember Houston, seconded by Councilmember Kaniali Kleinfelder to further amend Bill 136 Draft 2 with the contents of Communication 755.7. Councilmember Eustace.
Thank you, Chair. So pivoting a little bit away from Waimea and Waikolo, we're now looking at the North Kohala community here. We have a parcel in North Kohala. This is a punk parcel that was purchased pretty early on in the program and has been sitting unused, dormant, has no stewards in that space. So that's still an ongoing conversation with the community about an appropriate steward for that area. This was acquired to be kind of on that recreational side of the punk program, to be a community gathering space in the center of Hawaii town, to kind of preserve a green area. But what Hawaii lacks is a public restroom facility. So when people need to make a rest stop somewhere, you often have to frequent one of the businesses, which is fine, you know. But for the community at large, as well as visitors, we have no public restroom in Hawaii. The closest one is over in Kapa'au, behind the King Kamehameha statue, and of course at Kamehameha Park. So very limited in that rural area and that community. And what is allowed under the PONC program is there are some stipulations about what can be developed in those spaces. And restroom, and I have looked at past bill and past capital project at Koaniki and Oma, and that possibility of using PONC dollars for the possibility of improving and adding a comfort station. So in many community conversations, this has been an ask in North Kohala about providing a public restroom facility. And this would be an appropriate space to do so. It is an area where there's a lot of community gathering. There are businesses in the area. And so it would be an appropriate, in my opinion, it would be an appropriate use of that space to add this capacity to this less than 1 acre parcel. So looking for an opportunity to provide a comfort station in this space for the community. So thanks for the consideration.
Thank you, Councilmember Eustace. Definitely in support. On our last travel with our sister city delegation, it's apparent, especially in Taiwan, they have some of, I wouldn't call them little, they're almost like massive comfort stations, but at points throughout long drives, and Reno Kohala is far out there, so definitely a need there. Thank you for getting creative with this. All those in favor of further amending Bill 136, Draft 2 with the contents of Communication 755.7, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 8 ayes, 1 excused. Councilmember Kimball. The amendment to Bill 136 Draft 2 via Communication 755.7 has passed. Are there any other discussion or amendments? Not today. All right. With that, Mr. Clerk, can we please take the vote on Bill 136 Draft 2 as further amended to Draft 3?
On the motion to pass Bill 136 Draft 2 as further amended on first reading, Councilmember Galimba.
Aye.
Councilmember Eustace.
Aye.
Councilmember Kagiwara.
Aye.
Councilmember Connolly Kleinfelder.
Aye.
Councilmember Kirkowitz.
Aye.
Councilmember Kimball. Vice Chair Onishi.
Aye.
Councilmember Villegas.
Aye.
Chair Inaba.
Aye.
Chair Inaba, you have 8 votes in favor. Councilmember Kimball absent. The motion carries. Bill 136 Draft 2 as further amended passes first reading.
Thank you, and mahalo to our departments who are here and ready. I do ask that Animal Control reach out to Councilmember Kagiwara to make sure that we can get these questions answered prior to our second and final reading of these budget bills, which will occur at 9 a.m. on Thursday, June 4th, here in our Hilo chambers. Have a wonderful rest of the day, everyone. Aloha.